Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, yes, I am ready for the event.
Associated Press, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press. How do you hear me?
Hi, Marcia. This is Nicole Mann on board the International Space Station. I have you loud and clear.
Well, hello, Colonel Mann. I'm speaking to you from the Kennedy Space Center, just a few miles from where you blasted off 2 weeks ago today. There's considerable interest down here on Earth in your achievement as the first Native American woman in space. So the AP reached out to members and tribal news outlets around the country for questions to ask you, and we even have some questions from school children who, like you, are members of the Wailaki tribe, part of the Round Valley Tribal Nations Confederacy in Northern California. So let's get started. Our first question is from ICT, formerly Indian Country Today. What goes through your mind when you look at Mother Earth?
Oh, there are so many things that go through my mind. It is an absolutely incredible experience. I thought about it a lot before launch and wondered what it was going to feel like. And it's difficult to explain because the emotions are absolutely overwhelming. It is an incredible scene of color, of clouds and land, and it's difficult not to stay in the cupola all day and just see our planet Earth and how beautiful she is and how delicate and fragile she is against the blackest of black that I've ever seen, space in the background.
This is a question from Hawaii News Now. You're the first Indigenous woman from NASA to go into space. So what's your message to Indigenous girls and boys who dream of going into space exploration one day?
My message is to definitely stay committed and stay disciplined to your passions in life. So if that's school, for me, I loved math and science. Getting a good education is going to help open doors for you in the future. And if you have dreams and aspirations of going to space or working in space or doing something else, know that those dreams are achievable. You will stumble along the way, and that's okay, but stick with it, and you can achieve those dreams.
And here's a question from KYBU Round Valley Community Radio. They actually gathered questions from Round Valley high school students who, like you, are tribal members. And I'm going to list all the questions from the students at once. How does it feel to be the first Native American woman to go to space, maybe also to the moon one day? Can you see constellations from space, and if so, what do they look like? And lastly, does time seem to go faster or slower in space?
I feel very proud to be on board the space station and certainly to represent Native Americans and Indigenous people on board. I think it's important that we recognize that there are all different types of people on board the International Space Station, not only from different countries, but from different backgrounds and different nationalities. What that does is it just highlights our diversity and how incredible it is when we come together as a human species, the wonderful things that we can do and that we can accomplish. And I think it's a great message to the kids that are in, junior high or high school or even younger, for them to know that these opportunities are out there for the taking. You can see constellations from the space station. There's a lot of lights on board, so you need to find a time after working hours when it's dark. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to do that yet since I've only been up here 2 weeks, but it's definitely on my bucket list, and so I will take a look and let you know. And as far as time goes, it's incredible. It just flies by so quickly. I think because you're really busy on board the space station, you're really excited to be in space, and everything is new. And before I know it, lunchtime has come and gone, and it's the end of the workday and time for dinner, and I feel like there's still 10 things I need to get done. So I'm really looking forward to the time on board space station to get all those things done, the work and also the fun things.
Yeah. This question is from Muskogee Media. They would like to know how your tribal family members have reacted to your exploration. What's the impact for your tribe? And one more from them, if I might. Is your space experience causing you to reflect on your indigenous perspective and identity, and if so, how?
I think the response has been overwhelming, and it's so incredible. I've received a lot of letters. I know there was a lot of information like on a Facebook group put out. There were some boards at NASA with people that have indigenous background or that are natives that have come together and that have followed on the mission because they heard that a Native American is going to space, and that has excited them. I think that's great. It's good for the community, hopefully inspires young children, and hopefully it allows them to open up their mind and see the incredible things that we're doing on board Space Station. I think it's so important to get that messaging out to the youth, and I think this really helps by highlighting this mission. It definitely helps reach some youth that aren't necessarily always engaged in space exploration.
This question is from the Navajo Times. Many of us natives carry with us items of significance or importance such as corn pollen. Did you take any source for strength? Also, did you receive a blessing before you left Earth, and did you say a prayer after your arrival at the International Space Station?
I've received lots of blessings and prayers from my family and lots of strength. The only personal thing that I brought along those lines is a dream catcher from my mother, and that's something that I've always held dear as a child. I know it helped me through some tough times as a child when I would have a hard time going back to sleep. And so I think that the strength I find in that is a gift from my mother. It's the strength to know that I have the support of my family and community back home, and that when things are difficult or things are getting hard or I'm getting burnt out or frustrated, that strength is something that I will draw on to continue towards a successful mission.
I don't suppose you have your dream catcher handy that you could show us on camera right now, do you?
I do. I keep it in my crew quarters, but I knew that you were going to ask, Marcia, so I brought it out. It's a very small one because space is limited on the International Space Station, but it's pretty amazing in microgravity because it just floats and the feathers kind of go every which way. And so I have that in my crew quarters every night, to remind me of my family and my community.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing. Native America Calling says that it takes a great deal of professional endurance and resourcefulness to be chosen to lead a NASA mission. Is there any tribal wisdom, traditions, or family advice that helped you along the way?
I think the most thing that I focus on or rely on is some advice from my family. My mother always spoke to me about positive energy and how important that was. And I feel like that's very true. It's difficult for some people maybe to understand because it's not really tangible. But that positive energy is so important. And you can control that energy, and it helps to control your attitude. And so when you're in a stressful situation, you can channel that energy then to focus on your task at hand and what you need to do, and compartmentalize your brain and your emotions to not get distracted. You can focus on the mission and then realize that when there is an appropriate time, then you take that time to kind of focus on yourself and to make sure that you keep that positive energy.
ICT, formerly Indian Country Today, had a question along those lines, how you coped with the stress of liftoff or docking or other things ahead, maybe even a spacewalk. Did you use that positive energy on launch day and through other high-stress times so far?
I absolutely do. I think I focus on that positive energy quite often, especially on launch day. There was so much going on. It was such a very exciting day. There was actually a lot of really great energy. But when it came time for us to launch and to execute our operations on board Dragon, we really needed to maintain a focus on executing that mission. You know, the same holds true here on the International Space Station. There's a lot of incredible science that we're doing. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do a few spacewalks, and that is certainly a high stressful time for an extended period of time, really maybe 2 weeks leading up prior to a spacewalk. It'll be important that the entire crew focuses during that time and stays focused on the mission, and at the same time make sure that we take care of our own well-being so that we can sustain and have that endurance to last throughout these high stressful situations.
Buffalo's Fire is asking what challenges or surprises you've encountered during your training at NASA and even before your time at NASA. You know, any things that you needed to overcome to become an astronaut?
Absolutely. There were quite a few things. I think back, you know, going through college and my time flying jets in the Marine Corps, there were certainly challenges to overcome, times where I struggled with something. I think a specific example at NASA is when I first started the spacewalk training. That was incredibly challenging for me. The EMU suit, the spacesuit, is very difficult to maneuver in and to manipulate. And our training events are very limited, and they're underwater for a 6 hours amount of time, which is very mentally and fatiguing of your body as well. And so that was a challenging time where I really needed to focus, to find different ways in order to adapt to that environment. I really had to reach out to fellow astronauts to figure out what were their techniques and had they struggled in this area before. And by doing so, I really received a lot of good advice and was able to overcome that trying time and then be successful in the training in the end.
Another question, this one from Cherokee Phoenix. The Phoenix would like to know what it means to you as the first Native woman in space to be carrying on the legacy of Native women in the aerospace industry that began with Cherokee Nation citizen Mary Golda Ross, the first known Native American female engineer and the first female engineer in Lockheed history.
It makes me feel very proud. It makes me proud to be able to follow in the footsteps of those trailblazers, of those other Native Americans and Native American women that have been involved in aerospace industry and in engineering. There is a long line of people that broke down barriers throughout the years to create these opportunities, and I feel grateful to be able to participate and represent on board the International Space Station, and I really hope to continue that inspiration to other young children around the world.
The Osage News gathered questions from fifth graders at Doposka on Kodapi. They want to know two questions. How does someone get to be an astronaut, and what happens when you shoot a gun in space?
So there's many different ways to become an astronaut. Personally, I am a Marine, and I went the test pilot route. So I flew fighters in the Marine Corps and then became a test pilot. But that's just one of many ways to become an astronaut. We have astronauts that are engineers, doctors, scientists. The one thing that they all have in common is that they were very passionate about their careers before they became an astronaut. And you see that in all of the astronauts. They followed their dreams and their passions in life, and they were very happy and satisfied in their career. And I think that allows all of us to then branch out and kind of follow our future dreams. As far as shooting a gun in space, I have no idea. That'd be very dangerous on board the International Space Station. But because we are in microgravity, you don't have the same effects of gravity pulling down. So even if I threw a ball, like normally in space, if I was going to throw a football, I would throw it up and it would be an arc, and I would throw it to my friend. But here on the space station, because there's very, very little gravity, if I was going to throw a football, I would need to throw it just straight away, like that. If I threw it up, it would just go straight up and bounce off the ceiling. So it's very different.
I'm sure it is. The Imprint News' reporter who covers Indigenous children and family issues is asking how your Wailaki of the Round Valley culture played a role in your efforts to go to space, and is there anything from your culture or traditions that inspired your career?
I think the biggest thing that inspired me and helped me in my career to become an astronaut is the importance of family and community. I have a very large extended family that still lives in the Northern California area, Petaluma right above San Francisco, and then another big extension of family that lives up near Covelo Valley. And so it's really important to stay connected and rely on people to help get you through difficult times in life. Certainly, my parents and my family were a huge foundation for me in preparing me as a young child to persevere through challenges, to stay focused in school, and also giving me the confidence and inspiring me to achieve my dreams.
This is from the Rudaw Media Network. You have served in Iraq and have seen that country where climate change, poverty, desertification, etc., is ravaging people's daily lives. Why should someone in Iraq or other similar economies be excited about spending billions of dollars on space exploration?
Yes, that is a very important question. I think the space exploration does a lot for us looking beyond low Earth orbit, but it also does a lot to benefit humans on Earth. I think it is part of our human nature to explore, to investigate, to conduct scientific research. That allows us to expand, to grow, and to learn. Hopefully, that will help us back on Earth and in our struggles with poverty and with the changing world and atmosphere that we live in. The more that we can learn about our planet Earth, the better we can do to take care of her.
A sixth-grade science teacher who is a United Huma Nation Tribal Council person is wondering when you decided to become an astronaut and if space travel always interested you, even as a child.
You know, for me, it was a little bit later on in life that I realized that I wanted to become an astronaut. Certainly as a child, as a little child, I was fascinated with space and the stars, and I really liked adventure and exploration. But I had never really understood what an astronaut did, who became astronauts, what it really took to become an astronaut. Unfortunately, in my mind at that time, it was not in the realm of possibilities. Fortunately, though, later on in my career, as I started to do some research to see what other options there were for me in my career, I looked at becoming an astronaut and realized that those opportunities were available, and that's when I really set my sights on becoming an astronaut and flying to space.
And Native News Online notes that students from the Round Valley Indian Tribe's Head Start on your reservation watched the launch on a big screen. What message can you pass on to them? And that'll probably be my last question before I sign off.
I would like to tell them that I appreciate all of their good messages that they are sending me. I appreciate all of their good energy. Please know that I carry your hopes and your dreams with me to the International Space Station. And I hope for you that you will be able to achieve your dreams, and I pass along the energy for you to persevere in your childhood to do everything that you aspire to do in life.
Well, thank you so much, Colonel Mann. On behalf of everyone who took part in this interview, we wish you well on your space journey. We will be sending you positive energy. Godspeed.
Thank you, Marcia.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants from the Associated Press station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.